the other story I wanted to tell you. So I was 22. That's how old I was. And I was in an apartment with a friend, Emily. And I was dating Roger, my husband. So let's see, cell phones were still like a newer thing. I mean, I guess I had had one for a while. But I rarely used my cell phone inside the house because we used the landline more often than the cell phone. So I would leave my cell phone out in my car at night, like all the time. I would just leave it in my car because I rarely used it inside. And we didn't have smartphones. They didn't do anything fun. They just sat there. So it was, and yeah, the only time I really used it was when I was out and about. So I kept it in my car, which I had kept seeing things on the news about don't leave it in your car because people's phones were getting stolen all the time because they were leaving it in their car. Okay, so I moved in with my friend Emily, and in our apartment, it was kind of a weird setup. They had like the sidewalk out in front, and then right in front of that, they had little storage units. Or else they were little garages. I don't know. Something people could pay for, but they were big. So like our front window looked out at the back of those buildings. But our apartment was on the corner and kind of hidden. Like, I don't know, it's kind of a, I remember feeling a little creeped out about the thought that it was hidden. Anyways, yeah, because it's behind those buildings, or the whatever storage units or garage, I cannot remember. So when I was at the apartment, I always, like whenever I was there alone and at night, I just always had the feeling I was being watched. But I thought that it had to be my imagination. It had to be just that I was scared. So I just, you know, like I would brush it off every time because I thought it's gotta be my imagination. I mean, you know, because I look around and I know nobody's there, and I have all the curtains closed and stuff, so I'm not too worried, but I just always felt like I was being watched. Like I said, I just kept brushing it off like I'm probably just being crazy. Anyway, so one day Roger is over and we were hanging out in my room, and we were talking, and while we were talking, you know, I was just kind of looking around, and the blinds in my room, there was 2 blinds that were like broken and bent, so you could see through that little slit. And anyway, so I was just looking around, and I looked over towards the blinds, and I saw eyes staring in. And I did a double take, and then I was like, what? And then I smiled because instantly my mind is like, a friend is playing a funny prank on me. That's what I thought. So I'm like, who is that? Who is, you know, like there's someone outside. Like, who's playing this joke is what I'm thinking. I don't remember exactly what I said to Roger, but I was like, there's somebody out there. Who's out there? Still, just my brain is telling me it's just gotta be a funny prank. But Roger instantly knew it wasn't a funny prank. And he was like, what? And he jumped up and he goes running towards the window, and he flings open the blinds. And there's this guy standing there, like the guy jumped up. And then Roger started yelling at him through the window, and the guy just took off running, and then Roger took off running after him. And I'm in my room like, what the heck? I was still kind of in shock, like, what? And then it's clicking in my brain, and I'm like, oh my gosh. All those times I thought I was being watched, I was being watched. I just was so shocked. But all those times, but like at night, getting ready for bed, even when I was in the bathroom, I felt like I was being watched in the bathroom. And I figured it out that there was an angle, like from where the mirror and to the window, so he could see, when I was in front of the mirror, he could see me in the mirror. And then in my room, of course, those blinds were broken. So yeah, so he could always see in my room. And I just was pretty horrified just realizing that that was real, that I had all those times I felt like I was being watched. I was actually being watched. That was scary. So then Roger chased the guy off and he wasn't able to catch him. Let's see, my roommate, she went to the apartment managers the next day and told them what had happened, and they said that they would up security in our area and kind of keep an eye out. Okay, so then I was just nervous, but I thought, I mean, now that he knows, maybe he's not going to be watching, but we were just scared and being extra cautious. So one night, so normally Roger, when we would go out, he would drive. That way, when the night was over, he would drive me home and then he would go home. So I didn't have to drive home late on my own. But it was my sister's birthday and I can't remember why, but for some reason I drove, and it ended up, you know, it was like I left his house around 1 something in the morning, and so I had to drive home by myself, and I was really bummed because I was scared to walk from the parking lot to the apartment by myself, because the apartment's hidden behind those, like anybody could be hiding back there. I don't know. I was just scared. So I called my roommate ahead of time to see if she was awake and see if maybe she would meet me, and so that I wouldn't be all alone walking. Anyways, I called her and she was awake, and she was at the grocery store, so she was like, I'll get home like just a little before you, and so then we can walk in together and then you could help me unload the groceries. And I was like, oh, perfect. So I got there and I called her, and then she said she would come out and meet me. So then I put my cell phone in the car and left it like I always do, and I went out to meet her, and we met halfway, and then we stopped at her car to unload the groceries. And so we had our hands full of groceries, and we were heading towards the apartment, and a guy rode by on a bike, and it's like 2 in the morning at this point, and he's riding towards us, and like he kind of stares at us, like kind of in our face a little, and like, hi, and goes by, and I'm like, hi, you know, thinking, like not even thinking much of it, like that's weird for the guy to be out riding his bike at 2 in the morning. Anyways, my brain just wouldn't recognize that something could be scary. So after he passes, Emily, you know, she recognized that this is kind of weird. She was like, I bet that's the guy. I was like, you think so? I was kind of like, I don't know. But so we went into the apartment and we were putting the groceries away, and everything was locked, right? And after we get the groceries put away, or while we were putting them away, somebody knocked on the door. And I was like, what the heck? It's like 2 something in the morning and someone's knocking. And I didn't want to answer it, but Emily, she put the, you know, like the second lock in so it won't open all the way. And she opened the door and nobody was out there. So then she opened it all the way and steps out and looks around and nobody's out there. And I was like, that is creepy. But I tried to reason like, oh, maybe somebody was going to visit their friends and then they accidentally knocked at the wrong door and then realized, oh, this is the wrong apartment, and quickly like were probably embarrassed and so went to another one. That's what I told myself. But still I was feeling scared, and I knew that my imagination wasn't wrong, that I had actually been being watched. So me and Emily, I was like, I'm scared to sleep in my room by myself. Why don't we sleep in the living room tonight? And then that way we're together and we'll feel safer. And she was like, I don't want to sleep in the living room. I really like my bed. Why don't you just sleep in my room? And I felt really uncomfortable sleeping in her room. I just really didn't want to sleep in her room. I really wanted her to sleep in the living room. It's, you know, like common ground. But she really didn't want to sleep in the living room, and we couldn't agree on a place to sleep together, so we decided to just sleep in our own rooms. Anyways, so I go and I start getting ready for bed, doing my normal routine, and then when I get in my room, I had a routine I did, because I was scared, always feeling like I was being watched, right? But even before that, just always from my childhood, I would do this. You know, like the bedroom lights are on, and I go through and I check everything. Check in the closet, check under the bed, you know, make sure that there's nothing scary. I do that all the time. So I check everything, and then I walk over, and then I turn off the lights, and then usually I run and jump on my bed in case something, like a scary monster, you know, something that doesn't exist, actually exists and is under my bed. I don't know what my brain's thinking, but so, because I know I looked and there's nothing under there, right? But still, it makes me feel scared and uncomfortable. Anyway, so I do my whole routine, and then I go over to the door and I shut and locked the door. I mean, at my home growing up, I never did this, but I always did this when I had roommates and stuff. Not that I didn't trust my roommates. I don't know. It was just a different situation. So I would lock my bedroom door. So I shut and locked my bedroom door, and then I turned off the lights, and I ran and jumped on my bed. Anyways, so I'm sitting on my bed and there was a lamp on by my bed, right? So before I turned off the lamp, I'm sitting on my bed, and I'm still kind of like looking around and checking everything. And I look towards the window, and the eyes are there watching me. And I freaked out. I panicked. I got so scared. I started screaming, "Emily, Emily, Emily, Emily," you know, and I jumped up and I ran towards the door, and I grabbed onto the handle, and I was shaking so bad I couldn't unlock the door. So I have my hand on the handle, and I'm shaking the door, and I'm screaming hysterically for Emily. And I'm like, he's here. But in my mind, I'm thinking he's going to break through the window and murder me. I don't know what he was going to do. I was so scared. I was just scared, okay? So I was in such a panic, I couldn't even get the door unlocked. And so I'm like, Emily, 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 and just shaking the door and like just crazy scared. And she's on she comes running. She's on the other side, and she's like, open the door, and she's trying to help me open it, but of course she can't do anything because she's on the other side, and she's like, Jenny, and oh my gosh, it was so scary. I finally managed to get the door unlocked, and then I run out, and we like hug each other, and we're like, oh my gosh, she's out there, and we were just terrified, and we ran into the living room, and we grabbed the phone, and we went to the corner of the couch, like in between the wall and the couch, and we both just squished in there because it was a place where, I mean, we were kind of hiding, like he couldn't see us from any of the windows, even though all the blinds were closed, and I couldn't imagine he could really see us, but somehow he did, I don't know. Anyway, so we're hiding, snuggled up with the phone, and she calls 911 and tells them what's going on, and we're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, just talking about it, like, this is so scary, I can't believe this is happening, and we're thinking, like, who could we call? And I realized I didn't bring my phone inside. Again, it's out in the car, and all of the phone numbers are on there, so I can't call anybody without my phone because I don't have the phone numbers. And she didn't have, I don't know if she had her cell phone. No, she didn't. She didn't have her cell phone either, I'm guessing, because she didn't have the phone numbers. The only phone number she knew was for her family, and at the time she was kind of upset with her family, I guess, so she didn't want to call any of them. So we just sat huddled there for a while, me beating myself up for not having my phone, and her debating if she wanted to call her brother. But then all of a sudden, like, something snapped in her, like something just changed. All of a sudden, she jumps up, and she was like, this is wrong. This is so wrong. You know, and I was still huddled in the corner, terrified, and I just didn't even know what to think. So she jumps up, and she was like, Yeah, she's just ranting. She's like, this is wrong. Just because we're blonde, we're pretty, we have big boobs, we shouldn't be like, I can't remember. She was like, this is just wrong. We shouldn't have to put up with this. And she's like, I bet that little piece of, whatever is watching us right now. And I'm still, like, I'm just watching her. I'm not even saying anything. I'm in the corner just terrified. And she's like having this rant, and then all of a sudden, after she says, I bet he's watching us now, she goes over and starts flipping open all the blinds. And I was terrified, so terrified, in the corner just watching, okay? As she's flipping open all the blinds, and then it was like the third or fourth blind that she flung open, the guy's standing there staring. And she freaked out and just starts yelling at him, calling him all sorts of names, and I'm gonna kill you. I'm not sure if she said, I'm gonna kill you. But lots of swear words, lots of grr, and I'm gonna get you, okay? So then she runs over to the door to chase after him. And he's still standing there by the window, kind of like, not sure what to do. And that was the point where, like, I stopped watching him. I'm in the corner. She's just run out, and I'm terrified that the door's open and that the bad guy can get in now. But she's running towards him. So, like, my brain is like, what if he attacks her? What if he does something to her? And, like, I need to help my friend, but I'm terrified, and I don't want to go out, and I'm so scared, and I don't know what to do. And so I was standing in the middle of the living room, like, all this stuff going through my head, like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I'm my bad friend if I don't go chasing after her? Like, what do I do? I was scared. So, really, I just spent the whole time standing there, like, and not, like, trying to figure it out. And then, all of a sudden, she comes back, and she's dragging a bike. And she drags it inside, and she shuts the door, and she's like, I got the little effer's bike. And she's like, it was that guy, that passed us in the parking lot. So she goes, like, so she tells me what happened. She goes running out there, and she's running towards him, and he's staring at her like, not sure what to do. And then as she's getting closer, so, like, he's staring at her and then realizing she's really coming to get him. So then he looks towards his bike, and she looks towards his bike too, because, that's when she notices his bike and that he's gonna run towards it. So she stops running towards him and runs towards his bike, because that's where he's headed. And she runs, and she manages to grab the bike before him. And then, like, once she grabbed the bike, he just took off running in the other direction. And she just dragged his bike inside. And anyways, then right after that, like, the policeman showed up maybe 2-3 minutes after that. But the guy was gone. They couldn't find him, right? Because she had scared him off. But they took the guy's bike, and they took her statements, and then they walked me to my car so I could get my cell phone and make some phone calls. And then I called Roger and told him what happened and how terrified I was. And so then he came over and stayed with us that night, so we didn't have to be, so we could actually sleep. Anyways, so that was my big scary story. Oh, and then those apartment complexes. So I moved out probably like a month and a half after that, and I swear I saw on the news probably like a week or two after I moved out of the apartments altogether, I saw a story on the news where a lady, a peeping Tom, had broken into her house, broke through the window, and raped her. And that terrified me, because that guy, he hadn't gotten caught, and I wondered if it was the same guy, because it wasn't the same apartment complex. It was the apartment complex right across the street, and I just thought that was terrifying. Anyways, okay, so that's my story, and I'm gonna end the vlog now. So good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.